My name is Raymond Telles. I go by Ray, and I'm adjunct faculty. I'm an associate adjunct professor. So I'm teaching at Cal, as well as continuing to make films. So I've been making films for 35 years. I've been doing it for a long time. Documentary films. For the most part, in the last 20 years, I have focused on telling stories of Latinos, of Chicanos and Latinos. I kind of have this mantra of tell your own story, because if we don't tell our own stories, then who will tell them? I produced a film called The Storm That Swept Mexico. And that was a film that took 10 years from development through completion. And it's basically looking at the Mexican Revolution of 1910 from the perspective of a Chicano, a Mexican American who has one foot in both countries. So it's a critical look at the relationship between Mexico and the United States, going back a couple hundred years. But then I've done other films. I did a film called A Photographer's Journey about a photographer by the name of Pedro Guerrero, who was Mexican American from Mesa, Arizona, whose family had, his family had been in Arizona when it was part of Mexico, when it was Sonora. So it was a family where the borders crossed them. And he was a person who was not very, very well known as a photographer, but he became well known because he documented 3 of the major American artists of the 20th century. So that was on a series called American Masters. Fortunately, I was able to kind of carve out a niche in Chicano studies, in the ethnic studies department. I worked with a professor who retired recently, Alex Zaragoza, and he brought me in to teach basically 180s, which were you could teach just any subject and kind of 180s kind of lumped in there. But he encouraged me to develop a series of film courses. And so what I developed were Chicano Studies 135A, B, and C. A and B are the 2 narrative film courses, one from 1950 through the late 80s. And the second one, 135B, is a course covering narrative films from the 90s until now. And these are films that either are made by Latinos or the theme is a Latino theme, US or Latin American. And I did the same with the 135C, which is the documentary. So we focus on Latino 135C on Latino themed or Latino made documentaries. And then I also am teaching this semester a 198, and basically working with 7 students on researching a theme. In this case, we're doing research on a film that was shot in the 1980s on a group of kids from the 60s in East Oakland, and we're calling the film The 60s at 50. We're going back and looking at these students who were teenagers in the 80s who are now in their 50s and what has happened to them. These are all films around social issues, around history, and primarily around Latino themes. Storytelling is fun. That's what I do. But right now, I would say that my work right now is to make films kind of focusing on who we are as Latinos. And more than that, to try to encourage and inspire and work with students to tell their own stories, whether they're films or essays, whatever. But I think it's, that's my role right now, is to develop a new generation of storytellers. My advice is to get out of your comfort zone, to meet when you can, especially after COVID. But right now, get to know people in your classes that you wouldn't normally meet. Cal is a particularly unique place in that people from all over the world and from all over the country, people you wouldn't normally meet, are there, and they're your classmates. And it's an opportunity for you to get to know them and them to get to know you, so that you can have a better understanding of how the world works and how to develop relationships and friendships. And these are tools that I think will be useful to you and to all undergraduate students when you get out in the real world, that you learn to interact with people who are very different from you, that you get a chance. And so Cal is an, it's an opportunity that is not going to last, but you'll leave Cal with the skills and the understanding that people think differently. You know, and it's an opportunity to walk in their shoes and an opportunity for them to walk in your shoes too. And the other thing is, you know, learn critical thinking and writing. The writing skills you develop as an undergraduate there at Cal, we're going to serve you, forever. And so, take advantage of the time you have. You're at, one of the top schools in the world, and I think you need to get to know people, and they need to get to know you.